Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Miss Crocheting Coffee here, and today we are doing our whip and chat, so pull out whatever it is you're working on. Work along with me. I am working on Swan Lake from Diamond Art Club. It is a 55 by 109 round with ABs. I hope you all are doing well, washing your hands, not touching your face, all that fun jazz. Let's talk about Diamond Art Club real quick, shall we? Now, this weekend, the new releases came out, and there was a glitch in the system where whenever the VIPs went to go put in or click on the link, it wasn't popping up. I thought I thought it was just me. Like, normally, why is it whenever something like this happens, the first thing you think is, oh, it's just me. Nobody else is experiencing this problem. I'm just out of service area or something. I was at the dog park with the dogs, and obviously with the dogs, because I wouldn't just go to the dog park by myself. So I'm sitting there, and I go to click on the link, and it takes me to a link, and there's nothing there. And I'm like, okay, usually I get pretty good reception at the dog park, so I'm like, something's up. And I'm like, okay, well, I kept clicking on it and nothing was working. And I'm like, oh no. Luckily, I had been at the dog park for a little bit. I record some of the vlog for my Patreons at the dog park. So I had just finished that when the email had shot through, and I was getting ready to leave with the dogs anyway, but I decided, well, I'm going to get my canvases before I leave with the dogs. No. The link wasn't working. I freaked out. I thought it was because I didn't have internet service. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Now, you guys know I've put on the quarantine 20 since quarantine has been on. And so I've been trying to stay active. I've been trying to run around a little bit more, be a little bit more active, play with the kids a little bit more. And so I'm sitting there, and the dog park is maybe not even really half a mile from the house, because this was a different dog park. So I'm like, okay, I need to get home, and I need to get home right now, because if I don't get home now, I am going to miss out on the new releases, and I wanted to get Sweet Tooth. So I grabbed the dogs, and I'm like, let's go. Now, I have a Siberian Husky and a German Shepherd, if you didn't know. They are two very fast dogs, especially the Siberian Husky, because of course, he's a Siberian Husky, so their breed is bred to pull sleds and stuff. He wasn't pulling a sled, but he was pulling my big tail, so I was just like, let's go. So I leashed the dogs up, and we ran. Now, y'all, I was out there doing the DAC Olympics for about 3 minutes. It took me 3 minutes to run from the dog park to my house, into the house, let the dogs loose, didn't even take them off their leashes, to click on the link. I did it two more times before the link worked for me. And I was like, oh, finally. I got Sweet Tooth, had her in my cart, went to go put my card information in. Boom, sold out. I was like, mother chicken! No! So for those folks that are like, oh my God, you get all the canvases. Nope. I got to struggle and fight the raft and the people just like everybody else. I'm sitting there, and I was so mad because I was like, literally, I put my card information in, and for some reason, it had added an extra M to my email, and it said my email address was invalid. And I was like, oh no. Went to go change it, and just in the 30 seconds it took me to change that M out and try to press send on my payment, it had sold out. I was so mad. Oh my God. And then I was like, you know what? No, I got this. There's no way in the world all these canvases sold out and they're not restocking for general public. Because if you didn't know, sometimes Diamond Art Club would hold some of the canvases back for general public. So I'm like, that's fine. That gives me enough time to get the dogs off their leashes, because at this point, they're just running around the house in their leashes. It'll give me enough time to get settled, get my regular clothes on, because I take different clothes out to the dog park, because it's a dog park and it's gross out there, and I'm a germaphobe. We're not going to talk about it. So I was like, all right, this gives me enough time to do all this stuff. So I'm running around the house like a chicken with my head cut off. Mr. Coffee's looking at me. He goes, new releases? I'm like, yep, new releases. Get out of the way. And he's just like, all right. He knows what it means that from 11 o'clock until about 11:30, he knows what it means. He knows the new releases are coming out. Don't mess with me. Don't talk to me. Leave me alone. Let me do this. And then whatever you need me for the rest of the day, I'm yours. But give me that 30 minutes to make sure I get whatever new release I want to get. So he like steps out of the way, and he helps me get the dogs off the leashes, and I make coffee and get all my stuff settled in my chair. Come time for new releases. I was like, all right, I got this. I refreshed my screen for the Diamond Art Club website. Y'all, at this point, I've lost 2 pounds because I've been running around the house. I've been running outside. I'm doing the DAC exercise program, okay? and my fingers haven't been more fast, like as fast as they were this day. So I'm sitting there and I refresh the screen, nothing. I refresh the screen, nothing. And I go, oh, you better restock. Are you kidding me right now? Oh my God. I refreshed that screen 5 times before it finally said that the items were back in stock. And I was like, yes! I run over, and I didn't even have to put it in my cart. It was already like, it brought my transaction right back up where I left off. And all I had to do was click send, and I got my sweet tooth. Oh my God, you guys. I'm like, if Mr. Coffee looks at me, he's like, you know, if you're going to act like this every time a DAC release comes out, maybe you can go on that DAC exercise program where you have to be outside and run back into the house quick enough to be able to buy a new release. And I'm like, you know what? That's not a bad idea. So, I'm going to get on that DAC exercise program of having to like exercise before I buy my new release. That's going to be my treat to myself, is you exercise, now here, buy a DAC new release. So yeah, so that was my Saturday morning. I got to talk to my friends online for a couple of hours Saturday. And Maggie was doing the mostest. Now, when I get my tuber money, I usually try to get something for the kids and Mr. Coffee, just as a thank you for putting up with everything they have to put up with, like the kids, you know, putting up with having to be quiet for a short amount of time while I do videos, which the longest video that I do is my whipping chats, because they were usually an hour long. It's why they went from being almost an hour and a half or 2 hours long to being an hour long, is because I don't feel right making the kids be quiet that long. And right now, they're currently playing with each other quietly in the room, and I didn't have to ask them. It's like they already knew. And I was just like, well, while they're doing that, I am going to go ahead and record my whipping chat. So here we are. I also got the notification this morning that Stitcherissa's box is in her town and out for delivery. So I'm super excited about that. So she will have a video up on her channel about that. I'm not sure when, but we'll see it at some point. So yeah, I also got the notification that my limited edition Hannah Lynn coloring book is out for delivery as well. And I'm like, oh, heck yes. It's a beautiful morning. Like, it's just been a great day. I woke up super early this morning. Have no clue why. I just woke up and I was in the best of moods. And today is also Mr. Coffee's first day of school, y'all. I am so happy and proud of him. I wasn't very excited about him going back to school at this point in time, because I'm like, dude, at this point in time, like, with hours being cut and everything else, like, we can't really, like, are we going to be able to afford you going to school and missing all these days of work? And he's, like, assuring me that this is actually the best time for him to go back because of the fact that they cut his hours back. He's no longer working 84 hours a week. Now he's working 66, which to him is a cakewalk, seeing as how he spent the last 6 years working 84 hours a week. So, he was very adamant that this would be a great time for him to start back. So he starts back today, which is June 1st. And he's excited because they sent him his laptop, his tablet, all the stuff he needs to get, all the equipment that he needs to get started. And he's going back for mobile development so that he can make apps and such. And I'm just like, all I want you to do is make me a DAC app. Can you make me a DAC app? He goes, well, I can't just make an app for somebody else's company. I'm like, well, you can ask them, can you make an app for them? And so he is super excited. I'm super excited. And I'm like, hold up. Is this going to be like it was for the kids with homeschooling? Now, Mr. Coffee, because his schedule has changed and he isn't working like he was, his schedule isn't consistent. So this week, he's working 4 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then he'll take and have 10 days off, and then after the 10 days off, he'll go back to working 12 noon to 10 at night, which I'm learning that I don't like that schedule. I like this schedule a lot better. One, because he's home in the afternoon and gets to actually have the day with us, and two, because I can cook dinner and more than just me eats it, because at this point, my children aren't eating dinner. They're just rubbing it on their faces. Maggie has this thing now where she likes meat. Meat is ground beef. So we've been making it a point to buy stuff that they like to eat so that whenever Mr. Coffee works the weird schedule where he's gone all day and comes home at night, they will actually eat the food and it's not just going to waste. Well, Maggie gets super picky and she'll be like, oh, I want meat today. And then I make her what she wants and then she's like, I don't want it. I guess you also don't want to eat today because I'm not cooking anything else. My name is not Betty Crocker. Like, this is not Burger King. You don't get it your way. You're lucky we're having this for dinner, because if it wasn't for the fact, like, Mr. Coffee came up with the idea of buying them stuff that they like to eat, I said they'll eat what I make or they just won't eat. But, you know, Mr. Coffee's a little bit nicer than Miss Coffee. Miss Coffee is just like old school, like, you eat what I make or you don't get fed. I mean, I'm sorry. I already have to take and get up and make food for you to look at it and go, I don't want that. No, I don't think so. You gonna eat what I give you. But Maggie's really big into vegetables. So right now, the only thing Maggie wants to eat is watermelon and tomatoes. And I caught her at 2 in the morning in the fridge. She was sitting on the floor in front of the fridge with a spoon. And right as she goes to dig into the watermelon, I come out of the room and I'm like, excuse me, miss, what are you doing? And she's like, I just got really hungry for watermelon. I'm like, it's 3 in the morning. Like, literally, Mr. Coffee was getting up for work, and he's like, he hears something in the kitchen. And I went to go check on it because he went to the bathroom. And I'm like, God forbid it wasn't a murderer, because we would have been getting murdered while you go to the bathroom. He goes, what do you want me to do? Pee on them? Something that would stun them enough to the point where we could get away or something. Like, seriously. So, I go into the kitchen to see what it was, and here, sure enough, it's Maggie with a spoon on the floor in front of the fridge, taking chunks of watermelon out of the watermelon, because she obviously can't cut it, and it was too big for her to pull it out of the fridge. So she said, forget it, I'll just sit on the floor in front of the fridge and eat it. She ate a good quarter of the watermelon, and I'm like, how long have you been sitting here eating watermelon? And who wakes up at 3 in the morning wanting watermelon? She goes, well, I do. I'm really hungry. I'm like, how are you hungry? That night for dinner, she had 3 bowls of Velveeta skillets. Now, the Velveeta skillets was like ultimate cheeseburgers. It was like, essentially, it's like mac and cheese and ground beef. It's like one of her favorite things. She had 3 bowls of it, 3 decent-sized bowls of it, but then she was still hungry at 3 in the morning. And I'm like, look, listen, you need to go back to sleep. Like, I'm not about this life, and we're not doing this today, so we're going to go ahead and put you back to sleep. She's like, okay. And she, like, very sadly mopes away in her unicorn outfit. And then she goes and gets back in bed, and on top of her, like, she has this bad habit of making her bed and then sleeping on top of the sheets so she doesn't have to make her bed in the morning. I don't know whether she's just a evil genius or just lazy, because at this point, I've given up trying to figure it out. And then Orion has caught on to this trend, and now he's starting to make his bed and sleep on top of the sheets. And she goes to get back in bed, and I go to tuck her in, and I'm like, you know, you can't get up at 3 in the morning eating watermelon toots. You can have watermelon tomorrow for lunch. She goes, but I want tomatoes for lunch. And I'm like, okay, these are like sides. These aren't like actual, like, this isn't actual food. Like, you should be eating more actual food. And she's like, but it is actual food. Food is actually tomatoes. Tomatoes actually food. And I'm like, yes, but you have to eat more than just tomatoes. You have to eat more than just ground beef. So I figured, okay, we'll put the two together. We'll make spaghetti. She'll love spaghetti, because before she didn't like spaghetti because it had meat in it. She only wanted the noodles. So now that she's on this big meat kick, as she calls it, I'm like, all right, cool. We're going to go ahead and get you spaghetti, because it has tomato sauce and meat. And I'm like, this is going to be perfect. Wrong. Apparently, she doesn't like them together. She likes them separately. So if you give her, like, ground beef and then a little cherry tomato, she's fine. But if you give her spaghetti, the whole world ends. I have the only children on the planet that I know that will cry over something that they ask for or something that they like. And by that, I mean, I mentioned to her that we were having spaghetti, and she goes, ooh, can we have the spaghetti with the meat in it? I say, yes. I make it. I go to give it to her to eat, and she starts crying because, oh dear gosh, mommy is feeding me this disgusting, vile food, and it's not what I wanted. She wanted noodles with little cherry tomatoes chopped up into it, and then meat on the side. And I'm like, does this look like a 5-star restaurant to you? And Ryan's like, I'd give it a 3 at most. I'm like, excuse me? And he goes, you didn't mop the floors today, Mom. I'm like, you know what? Now, I have a rule in my house. If you complain about me cleaning, or if I'm cleaning something and you start complaining that, like, you can't see the TV or something, or I'm not doing that right, or I missed a spot, you then get to take, it's like playing tag. You then get to tag in and show me how it's supposed to be done. Well, Orion saying that got him to be able to mop the floor that day. He wasn't very excited about it, but I'm like, well, show me how it's done. I didn't do it right, apparently, so you show me how it's done. He goes, you didn't even mop the floor today. I'm like, I know, but you're going to show me how to mop the floor because mommy obviously doesn't know how to mop the floor. So how do you mop the floor there, buddy? So he got to mop the floor. Don't worry, Maggie helped him because as he was sweeping, she kept pushing stuff off the table onto the floor. She was eating crackers, and every time she would get a crumb on her napkin, she would push it on the floor for him to clean up. And then they started fighting, and I was like, all right, no, Maggie, get on your hands and knees. You got the dustpan duty. She's too little for the broom because the broom is just too big for her. So I make her hold the dustpan. It works out. So, okay, sorry. Maggie needed something, but... So yeah, so we're still fighting the struggle in the house of who's going to win the battle of dinner time. I also wonder if you guys could help a sister out and let me know, why is it that the only time my kids actually get along is at the dinner table? Any other time during the day, if I go, you guys go play together. Why do we have to play together? Why do we have... But dinner time comes and let it be something that they both don't want to eat, and that's when they unite as one giggly force of whatever to be reckoned with. And that's when they want to sit and play nicely together. They want to have conversations. They want to talk about video games. And I'm like, why can't y'all do that any other time? Why is it only when you guys it's only when you guys don't want to eat your dinner that you guys get along and you will sit there and talk to each other? Let it be something like, I told you to go in the room and do that, and you guys will fight. And Orion's like, I don't know, this is just how we like doing things. And I'm like, y'all are pitiful. Y'all are just pitiful. So I just walk away. But we're still fighting the battle with them. Also, if you didn't know, Miss Coffee's 101 to scaring a burglar. Show up in your underwear. Let me explain. So, no, I didn't get a burglar in my house this weekend. Saturday night, I had finished talking to my friends, and I stayed up a little bit longer because I forgot to take my sleeping pill. I am learning that without the sleeping pill, I wake up with a migraine. And so and the sleeping pill, essentially all it does is make me sleep longer than 6 hours. Anything more than between 4 to 6 hours of sleep before the sleeping pills, and I would wake up with a migraine. If I get any more sleep than that, I would wake up with a migraine, and I would just feel groggy all day and irritable. But with the pills, I can sleep like 8 hours and feel great when I wake up. So I'm like, okay, well, that's a plus, even though I don't like... I've spent how many years sleeping less hours than that, and now that I sleep that many hours, I feel bad because I'm like, I need to be up with my kids as soon as they wake up. As soon as their little eyes open, I need to be awake. But no, usually Orion will come in and wake me up when he gets up, and he's like, Mom, I want cereals. So I forgot to take my sleeping pill, and I decided at 2... No, it was midnight. It was midnight. I decided, it's time for me to go to bed. I need to go lay down. It's getting late, and Mr. Coffee has to work in the morning, so he was already in bed. And he goes to bed early because he has to work so early in the morning. Now, that's the thing that he hates, is the fact that he has to go to bed so early compared to when he was working 12 to 10 and he can go to bed like super late because he didn't have to go to work until noon. So, and then he'll look at me and be like, are you coming to bed? It's 8:30. No, I'm not coming. Our children don't even go to bed this early. No, it's summertime. Nah, you good. You got that by yourself. I'm not coming to bed with you. Anybody else got a spouse that refuses to go to bed without them and then will procrastinate for about 20, 30 minutes trying to get you to come to bed with them, and you're like, nah, I got you got that by yourself. I ain't trying to, I'm not in school anymore. No, I'm not doing it. And of course, as soon as I get the kids out of summer school or homeschool, he goes into school, and I'm like, oh, my oldest baby's going to school. I want to get him a sign. And if I can get him to do it, when he comes home today, I'm going to get a piece of paper and write my first day of school on it and take a picture of it and put it up on my Instagram because that's just funny. So, yeah, but I am super proud of him that he's going back to school. He tried once, and right when I was we were having Orion, and the time frame and everything just didn't work out because he was working 3 jobs. We were still on assistance, because his 3 jobs barely still did anything. And he didn't have time to study and do everything he needed to do, so he had to give up school back then. So this time he wants to try again. And I told him, you know, this time I'm not letting you quit. I'm not letting you give up. You will finish this out. When you're done, you will have a degree. So he's super excited. I'm excited, even though I wasn't at first. But anyways, let's get back to the burglar and the underwear thing. So I'm sitting here and I decide, okay, yeah, it's time to go to bed. And sorry, there's a piece of fur on my canvas. Because no matter what you do, if you have pets, they don't even have, they can just look at you diamond paint and they get fur all over your canvas. So I gather up my things, I go check on the kids, and then I go lay down. And that night, I think part of the reason why I stayed up is because I'm having problems with that lady messing with me. Now, she's not harassing me. If you don't know, there's a lady that's making trouble, trying to make trouble for me, because she so badly just has to watch my YouTube channel, and she's being a pain in the butt. She's just being a pain in the butt. It's not like she's going to harm me or anything. But I was up dealing with that Saturday, so I stayed up a little bit later than I wanted to. And then when I finally did go to bed, I whistled for the dogs. Now, when I whistle for the dogs, usually they both come running. Sometimes Killian won't, because he likes to ignore me because I'm not Mr. Coffee. So make sure y'all can still see what I'm doing. I'm sitting there and I go, you know, Killian, come on, let's go. We got to go to bed. Come on. He's not listening. All right, fine, cool. Leave you out here. So I left him out here, or I thought I left him out there. And I go to bed. Nothing out of the ordinary. About 1:30, I start hearing this noise that sounds like thunder. But it was a weird type of thunder noise. It sounded like squeaky thunder. If that's a thing, I highly doubt it is. But if it was, this is exactly what it would sound like. It literally sounded like big thuds and then a fork scraping against the plate. And I was just like, what the hell is that? Now, I'm asleep, and I didn't know what it was. Whatever it was scaring Daisy, because Daisy then came on my side of the bed whenever she heard the noise. And I was just sitting there, and I'm like, it's all right, Daisy. It's just, you know, it's just the wind or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I just thought it was the wind. I didn't think anything of it. I lay back down. I go to sleep. I wake back up half an hour later. At this time, it's, I think, 2 o'clock. I think it's like 2 o'clock. I hear it again, and I'm like, what the hell is that noise? Like, what is going on outside? And then I hear it again while I'm fully awake, and I'm like, oh no. If somebody's trying to break into this piece, they got another thing coming. So I grab my gun, I grab my knife, and without any pants on, I go to the door, because what's going to scare a burglar more? Seeing me in my underwear, apparently. So I run to the door, and I open it, and for some reason, I don't know why, but I opened it and jumped out and go, you don't want none of this. Now, look, listen. It's 2 in the morning at this point. I have no pants on. All I have on is a tank top. Girls are swinging, okay? I'm in my underwear, and all I go is, the best part about this is, I had on my, like, I got a pair of these Superman underwears, and I just jump outside like I'm a superhero, and I'm like, you don't want none of this. Yo. You want to know what the noise was? It was Killian. Apparently, when I closed the door, because Mr. Coffee keeps the door open, like the screen door open, because it's so warm. So he'll keep the screen door open until he goes to bed. Well, when he went to bed, he left it open for me, and I closed it, not thinking anything, because, I don't know, I just didn't think the dogs were outside anymore. I had just seen Killian on the couch, so I didn't think he was outside anymore. Well, he was outside, and he wasn't very happy with me, to say the least, when he came back into the house. All right, I had to take a coffee break. Stay hydrated, folks. All right. So yeah, so I jump outside, and there's Killian. Killian's looking at me like I have 4 eyes. And luckily, it was so late in the morning that really nobody was out. I did see like 1 car drive by, like right as I jumped out the door, and I'm pretty sure they didn't know what I was doing anyways, luckily. So Killian kind of looks at me, and I look at him, and I go, what are you doing out here? Apparently, I was so tired that I didn't realize that when I closed the door to come to bed, that Killian was still out on the porch. Meanwhile, I had went to bed. Daisy came with me, and I thought Killian was just being a butt and not coming to bed, so I just left him out what I thought was in the living room. Didn't realize he was laying outside. So he ran back into the house. I run back into the house because, again, I have on no pants. And I'm just standing outside in my Supermans, and I'm like, okay, Killian, look, I am sorry. No, this dog then goes and runs into my bedroom, starts whining and crying and howling to wake up Mr. Coffee to tell on me. Like, he legit woke up Mr. Coffee, and Mr. Coffee's like, what's wrong, Killian? Killian, what's wrong? What's wrong? And he looks back at me and starts whining, and Mr. Coffee looks at me and he goes, why do you have the gun out, and why are you in your underwear? Like, what are you doing? I'm like, look, I was asleep. I heard a noise. I went to go check on it. And he goes, why do you think that for some reason that you shouldn't put on pants when these things happen? I'm like, I don't know, because the first thought I have is if somebody was breaking into my house is, oh, let me put on pants. And he goes, something is wrong with you. You have a problem with pants. I'm like, I do. I don't like them. Why should I have to put on pants? If you're going to break into my house, you're going to be scarred for life, not only physically, but mentally as well, because you're going to see me in my underwear. I'm sorry. Don't come into my house unwanted. So there was that. So Killian is still mad at me. He keeps glaring at me and giving me the side eye. He's not listening to anything I say, and he's not very happy with me. So I've been trying to like apologize and give him extra treats and extra belly rubs and stuff, and he doesn't care. I still get this look of, you locked me outside, woman. So he's not very happy. And then I had to clip his toenails the other day because I don't like that noise that they make when they get too long and they start tap dancing on the floor or the concrete outside. Now, usually the dog's nails will file down by themselves because usually I have them outside constantly walking. So the coarseness of the sidewalk will file down their nails. Well, every once in a while, I will file their nails down. And I went and bought me one of those expensive like nail files that you use to file the dog's nails down, and instead of clipping them, because I'm always scared that I'm going to clip them down too low, which I did do to Daisy when she was a puppy, and ever since then I refuse to clip their nails. So now I have this file, because when I saw it online, I was like, ooh, I'm going to use this file. The file works great. I don't go down too far, but apparently sometimes I don't go down far enough for Killian's liking. So if you're on my Instagram, you would have saw that I put up a little clip of him trying to chew his own foot. It's because he doesn't like the vibration of the little machine that I have, because it does vibrate to spin around the little file on it. And he doesn't like the vibration, so whenever I'm done, he always chews on his foot, because I guess his foot goes numb. It's like if you were sitting on something that was vibrating really hard and how your body gets that little tingling feeling. I guess he gets it in his foot. So he will sit there and like chew on his foot to get the feeling back in his foot. He only does it for a few minutes. But yeah, he's still not very happy with me. He's still side-eyeing me. And I'm like, look, listen, if you would have came inside the first time I called for you, you wouldn't have this problem. Because I did call for him, but he didn't come to me. I figured he was, because at one moment when I thought he was laying on the couch, I thought I seen him go towards his crate. The dogs do have dog crates. We don't put them in their dog crates, but they have them just in case they would like to go and be safe away from like the kids. So I put them in every once in a while. They'll go lay in their dog crates, and Killian's been doing it a lot more because he has a cooling mat in there. So I just assumed that that's where he went. I didn't realize that he went back outside, and I was so tired, I just didn't check outside like I normally do, because normally I would check outside to make sure they're not outside, but I didn't check outside this time, and I was like, oh crap. So Killian's mad at me. Mr. Coffee keeps like rubbing it in, and he goes, it's okay, bud. Did mama lock the baby outside? I'm like, don't treat him like no baby. He ain't no freaking baby. So yeah, now they're both hating on me. That's him over there now lopping up all the water. Killian, you gonna save some of that water for the fish? Apparently not. So yeah, so as you can tell, he's not really like liking me right now, and it's okay. He'll get over it. He's a dog. I can't help it. Like, I lost Maggie this weekend too. I was outside playing with her for a little bit, but then I had to come back inside because I'm trying to keep active. I'm trying to stay active because one of my biggest problems, especially now with quarantine, that gave me the excuse to not get up and get active. That gave me the excuse to not want to go outside, to not want to walk the dogs, to not want to do anything besides sit here and craft. And I have to get out of that lazy mentality because I have small children that want to play. And so I don't play with them all day because it's not my job to play with them all day. But I do like to play with them every once in a while. And usually like we'll play a game of like Uno or Skippo, or we'll play Jenga. We haven't played Giant Jenga since Orion got attacked by the board last time because I think he's scarred now. And he's just kind of like, nah, I don't want to play Jenga today. So I was just sitting there and I'm like, okay, we're going to play one more game of, we were playing hopscotch. I taught her how to play hopscotch because she likes to jump and hop. So I figured hopscotch would be the next best thing. So I taught her how to play hopscotch, and I had one of those skip-its. Do you remember, how many people remember skip-its? Write that down in the comment section. It's that little toy that goes around your ankle, and you have to spin that toy around and jump over it with your other leg as your one leg spins it around. It was like one of the funnest things ever. Well, I happened to find one, and her and I were playing with that. Somebody had mentioned I should get Maggie a hula hoop. Now, Maggie has had a hula hoop before, but I refused to buy Maggie another hula hoop because the last two that she's had, she broke. How did she break a hula hoop? Beating her brother with it. That's how. She apparently thought that the hula hoop was a weapon, and whenever he would run through the house or something, she would like try to lasso him. And I decided, you know what, she's not ready for a hula hoop yet. Because a couple of those times where she lassoed him with a hula hoop, he fell and hurt himself. So I'm just like, yeah, no, she's not ready for a hula hoop yet. We're going to hold off on the hula hoop. And I know a bunch of you are like, hold up, Miss Coffee, where'd you get that pen? You'll see this pen on What You Got Wednesdays, but I will link it in this video. It's from Harp's Custom Creations over on Etsy. She asked me to try out her drill pen to see how I like it, and I love it. So it's a drill pen. And it's made of wood, and I love that. And it's actually really comfortable. I always am skeptical of wood drill pens, but it's actually not bad. I see she did put up a couple more things of inventory on her site. So I, of course, will link her in the description box. I'll have to remember to link her in the description box because I know I will forget. But anyways, so as I am playing with the kids, or I'm playing with Maggie outside, she goes, Mommy, I want to play Bubbles. Now, I bought her Bubbles last Thursday, I believe, because with tuber money, I like to buy each and everybody something in the house to say thank you. So she got Bubbles. Orion got a new video game, Mr. Coffee got shoes, and Maggie got Bubbles, because that's what Maggie wanted. Maggie wanted Bubbles because it's summertime, and Maggie's favorite outdoor activity is blowing bubbles. Now, Maggie is an assassin with the bubbles. Let me explain. It took 30 minutes for my nose to stop bleeding. I almost had to go out to the ER because Maggie decided she wanted to play Bubbles with Mommy. Now, I bought her 3 different bubble guns, and Mr. Coffee went out and bought her 4 giant containers of Bubbles. That should last her about a week. So she has chalk, she has Bubbles, she has skip it. She has all kinds of outdoor activities that she can do. She has a bike. She has a scooter if she doesn't want to ride the bike, which happens often. Yes, she does have helmet and knee pads because she's not supposed to be hitting her head, but she still does. But I, put the elbow pads and knee pads and stuff on her, and every time I put them on her, she'll wait and go down the street, take them all off, put them on the porch when she comes back, and then goes, I don't need these. All right, cool, be a gangster, be out there and scraping your arms and knees up on the concrete. That's fine, that's up to you. As long as your head's protected, I don't really care. So she was deciding that she wanted to play Bubbles. And I was like, all right, cool, I'll play Bubbles with you. I don't got a problem with that. We got to go play Bubbles, and we're having a good old time. And every time, it never fails. Every time I play with my kids, I get hurt. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just because I'm being careless and not paying attention because I'm having so much fun or what. But all I know is 1 minute we're sitting there and we're having bubble battles, okay? The wind is blowing pretty hard that day. So we're kind of on the porch because I didn't want her to get blown away. So she's blowing bubbles my way. I'm blowing bubbles her way. We're just laughing and giggling, having a good old time. And the next thing I know, I go to bend down to grab something. I think I went to go refill my bubble gun. And the next thing I know, I popped back up. And when I popped up, she had the gun aimed right at me, shot me right in the eye. If you've never had soap in your eye, it's like, how do I say this? It's like getting 1,000 paper cuts and then being dipped in lemon salt water. Yeah. It's very painful. And so when she shot me in the eyes, I of course grabbed my face and started like grunting because it's my freaking eyes. It's burning like herpes, okay? I'm losing my mind on that porch. She's laughing because she thinks I'm just, I'm just playing super extra or something. And what she didn't realize was, no, I wasn't playing super extra. I was in pain. It hurts when you get soap in your eye. And she's just a laughing and a giggling. She's still blowing bubbles at me. And as I'm opening up the other eye that wasn't shot, I'm telling her to stop because she got me in the eye. Well, she gets me in the second eye as I'm telling her to stop. And I'm like, oh my God. I am like flailing all over the porch. She then realizes at this time that I am not playing, that I'm actually in pain. She runs in the house and slams the door. Now, it's a glass door. So when she ran in the house and closed the door, I went running towards the door thinking that she had opened it for some reason to let me in so I can go rinse my eyes off. No, she closed it, and I ran into the door and busted my nose. My nose was bleeding for a good 30 minutes. Don't worry, I'm fine. But she's like, oh, Mommy, you got nose goo all over the window. I'm like, open the door. I need to rinse my eyes. She opens the door. She leads me to the kitchen. I rinse my eyes out. My eyes are bloodshot red. Mr. Coffee comes home and he goes, hun, do we need to have a conversation? Conversation about what? Now, this time it feels like there's a bunch of sand in my eyes because it's still burning, but not as bad. And he's like, why are your eyes all red? Are you tired? I'm like, no. And before I could say anything, he goes, have you been smoking the devil's lettuce? I'm like, I will punch you right in the taint. What is wrong with you? And he's like, well, why are your eyes all red? I'm like, why is the devil's lettuce the first thing you go to? For those of you who don't know what the devil's lettuce is is marijuana. It is legal here in North Dakota, but I vape. I don't smoke stuff like that. So for him to say that, I got highly offended because I'm like, you gonna sit there and think I'm gonna smoke that with the kids home and everything else? Like, that's kind of messed up. Anyways, so he's like, are you okay? I'm like, well, I wasn't. And he goes, is that blood on the window? Because at this time, I hadn't had a chance to get to the window because I had spent so long rinsing my eyes out because no matter how much water I was putting into them, it wasn't working. I got the Visine out and started like squirting that in my eye, and that wasn't working either. And I'm like, oh, good gravy, this burns. And finally, after probably 15, 20 minutes of doing that is when Mr. Coffee came home and helped me finish rinsing my eyes out. And finally, after I think an hour or two, I was fine. And then he had to explain to Maggie that, you don't point the bubble gum at people's face. And then after he explains to her, you're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do that, she goes, okay. She runs off to go play, and she goes, is it okay if I play with bubbles by myself? And Mr. Coffee is like, yeah, go ahead and play bubbles by yourself. That's fine. But mommy's going to take a break now. Mommy has stuff she has to do. And she's like, okay. So what does she do? I look outside, and Maggie has the gun pointed at her face, blowing bubbles at her face, just laughing and giggling. And she's like, Mommy, I don't see how this hurts. This is funny. It tickles. And I'm like, yeah, it was tickling my brain a few minutes ago. No, thank you. I don't want to laugh that much. No, that doesn't tickle. So then after I fuss at her to tell her to stop blowing the bubbles in her face, and she goes, do doggies eat bubbles? I'm like, no, doggies don't eat bubbles. And she goes, well, our doggies eat bubbles. I look outside, and there's Daisy and Killian jumping up at her, trying to eat the bubbles off the bubble wand because she's blowing bubbles and they're trying to pop the bubbles. I know they make like I think it's peanut butter flavored bubbles. I think you can get it on chewy.com. They're like bubbles that taste like peanut butter or smell like peanut butter or something. We had some the one year, but then Killian ended up getting into the container and essentially licking it all up and then getting a really bad stomachache. So I haven't bought any since then because Killian doesn't know what moderation means. Big old greedy dog. So yeah, so then after she, tries to shoot herself in the face, then she's shooting the dogs, and then the dogs are running in and out of the house, and you just see a dog run past you covered in bubbles looking like Lady Gaga or something, and I'm like, Maggie, could we please stop shooting bubbles at the dogs at this point? Because I don't think they like it. And she goes, oh, but Daisy does like it. Meanwhile, Daisy's sitting there with like 4 bubbles on her head, and she's just looking at me like, this is fun. And I'm like, oh, good gravy. This girl's gonna like hurt these dogs. But don't worry. The dogs were fine. She didn't hurt the dogs. She didn't hurt herself. Just me. Just plain old mommy. Mommy's always the one that gets hurt. I don't know why. Mr. Coffee can play with them all day. Nothing happens. I play with them for 5 minutes. Last year, what was it? I think it was last year. Last year, I broke my toe playing soccer with the kids. This year, I busted my nose playing bubbles with Maggie. The year before that, I sprained my ankle playing hide and go seek. Because, okay, so let me explain what happened. Because Orion cheated. Let me explain what happened. I was hiding behind a bush outside. He comes to get me, to tag me, because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to tag somebody when you find them in hide and go seek. If you don't tag them, they're not it yet. So I went to go run, but my body was turned and my leg wasn't. And I went to go turn my leg, and it turned in an awkward position, I guess. And I sprained my ankle. I'm on the ground howling, and he tags me and goes, "You're not going to get out of it that easily, Mom. You're it." Yo, he gave 0 F's about the fact that I was in pain on the ground. And he was just like, "I'm just not it anymore. Mommy's it." And I'm like, I sprained my ankle. By the time I got up off the ground, my ankle looked like a beach ball. And he goes, well, it's not like your foot fell off, Mommy. You can still play with us. And I'm like, I sprained my kids are straight up playing gangsters. They don't care if you get hurt. They just want to keep playing. Yesterday, I decided, you know what? I'm going to play with them until they can't play no more. So I played with them. We were running around the house and playing the tickle game and playing tag and hide and go seek and everything else. And Maggie asked me for a good place to hide. And I was like, you can hide. So I like shove her underneath the cabinet in her bathroom, because underneath their cabinet in their bathroom, the only thing that gets stored there is extra toilet paper for their bathroom. And so I stuffed her underneath her cabinet, and I went and laid down behind the couch. And as I'm laying down there, and I'm looking around underneath my couch, and I'm like, that's a lot of dog fur. Like, I really need to move my couch and vacuum. And right as I hear Orion coming out, like, I go to take a deep breath, and I get a piece of dog fur in my mouth, and I'm like, oh, nope, Mommy's out. Mommy's got to clean. So I went into frantic clean mode, and I flipped the couches I flipped them over and vacuumed underneath the couches, because I was like really embarrassed at the fact that there was that much fur underneath my couch. Because how often do you move your couches to do furniture and stuff? Like, I have a small apartment, so I don't think to move the couches, and I'm never sitting here going, oh, well, there's a ton of dog fur underneath here. I should probably move this. So like when I saw that, and then when I breathed in a piece of dog hair in my mouth, I was like, oh no, that's disgusting. I got to vacuum. And Orion goes, oh, well, I guess playing's over for today. Mommy's in crazy lady mode. And I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? He goes, you get into these modes where you clean up out of nowhere. And he's like, we were just playing a game, Mom, and now all of a sudden the living room is destroyed because you're vacuuming. Now, I know my kids don't like it when I stop playing to clean, but look, there was a lot of dog fur underneath the one side of that couch, and I needed to clean it up. And I was like, well, I'll play with you when I'm done. And he goes, oh, don't worry about it. Me and Maggie are going to go play. So him and Maggie went to go play together. They played together nicely while I went and finished up, because I'm working on a tester pattern for the magazine right now that's being a pain in my ass. I have to make a sweater, and it's a very slow going sweater. So it's irritating the piss out of me, because I hate when I'm working on something crochet related. And usually I crochet pretty quickly. This sweater gets you, it's like going nowhere fast. It's like riding on one of those exercise bikes, but you're going really fast, but you ain't going nowhere. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I don't use exercise bike, because I already have times in my life where I feel like I'm going nowhere fast. I don't need to get on the exercise bike to do that. So yeah, still haven't had any patty pie. I thought I was going to be slick. So yesterday I got a shower, got dressed, and instead of putting on my sweatpants, I put on tights. And I was like, okay, I put on pants. I did my hair. Let's go to the store, because Mr. Coffee said, I'm not buying you any more patty pie. If you want it, you have to get dressed and go get it yourself. Y'all, I got dressed to go get it. I was too lazy to go get it after I got dressed, so I never got patty pie. He bought me donuts, but he wouldn't buy me patty pie. And I'm like, I could you please just one patty pie? And he goes, no, if you want it, go get it. Y'all, just the thought of getting it makes me tired, and I'm just like, I don't want to go to Walmart to go get it. Come on. So, no patty pie. And I know some of y'all have finally tried patty pie for the first time, and you're like, oh my God, it's so delicious. And I'm like, isn't it though? That little hint of cinnamon and all the spices that are used and all the sugary goodness. And I'm like, now I'm jealous because I want patty pie, but I'm too lazy to put on pants to go get patty pie. You ever been too lazy to get dressed to go do something that it's not necessarily like a necessity, but I still really want it, and I'm mad every time he comes home and he doesn't like have one in his hand. Mr. Coffee will every once in a while surprise me with a gift or some sort, and usually it's something food related, like salads or patty pie or cookies or something. And he hasn't been doing it lately because he says he doesn't want to feed my addiction to the patty pie. And he goes, you're finally starting to lose the weight from sitting around eating all those patty pies, so I really don't want to, encourage you to gain the weight back, seeing as how you were getting upset that you were gaining weight. And I'm like, I'm in the house. Anybody else feel like they need the social distance from their refrigerator in their kitchen? I do, but am I going to? No, because right now that's my lifeline. That's my comfort, is my food. And it's not a good thing to have to comfort yourself with. But look here, I'm locked in this house with kids all day, count it, all day, 25/8. Why did I add an extra hour and an extra day? Because that's what it feels like when you're in a house with kids all by yourself all day, most of the day. So I'm like, my only retreat is food right now. And though I have gained a few pounds, it is very easy for me to lose weight. I migrated around the same amount of weight for the last, I don't know, 10 years, 10, 13 years. Because, yeah, how old is Minna? Before I gave birth to Minna, I was like 145 pounds. After I gave birth to Minna, I was 175 pounds. And then after giving birth to Orion, I was 184. And then Maggie, I had gained 20 pounds with Maggie and then lost 20 pounds a week after she was born. And I've stayed at 184 ever since. And my weight will fluctuate between 196 to 184. And so I was up pushing 198, and I was like, oh, I'm almost 200 pounds. Good God, Patty, if you only knew what you're doing to my waistline right now, you would stop making these pies. So Mr. Coffee doesn't want to aid me in gaining the weight back because I finally got down to 181. And he's like, I don't want to encourage you by buying you patty pie. And I get that he doesn't want to, but look, we all do things we don't want to do in life. Why can't this be one of those things that he does that he doesn't want to do? Like, why can't this be a thing? Like, I don't understand why my husband hates my life and all my life choices. And he's just like, well, I don't, but if you want it, go get it. No, I don't want to get it. It tastes better when you get it, because I can feel the love that you have in your heart when you're purchasing it at the store and driving it home for me. I can feel that love. I can't feel that love if I go get it myself. It just tastes like hatred because I'm mad because I have on pants. You ever tasted food that tastes like hatred? It doesn't taste the same, does it? No, it doesn't. Like, have somebody make you food that's angry at you. It just doesn't taste the same. It tastes like hatred. It tastes like they hate everything about your life and all your life choices. So I'm like, I need you to go buy me the patty pie so that it tastes like love and comfort and it doesn't taste like hate and pants. And he's just like, something is seriously wrong with you. I am aware of this. We are both aware of this. But now that we're both aware of this, the first step to having a problem is admitting that you have a problem. The second step is getting your husband to buy you patty pie. So go buy me a patty pie. So yeah, that's been how my weekend was. I hope your weekend was better. But yeah, so Mr. Coffee starts school today, so I'm not sure exactly what he has to do. He did take his tablet to work with him so that if he had anything like intro related, he could get started with it at work, because they're not doing anything besides sitting around, I guess, at work. So he was going to get started at work today. And I'm like, well, that's awesome. Whatever. I am going to record videos today. And he's like, all right, cool. I'll talk to you whenever I'm leaving work. So he will probably be home on time today because he has homework and stuff to do, and he won't let them keep him over, because that's the sad part. They don't do nothing all day until right before they're supposed to leave for the day, and then all of a sudden they have all this stuff to do, and he ends up being late coming home from work. And then one day his boss calls me and he goes, hey, did your husband get home yet? No. Why? What's up? And he's like, I need him to come back to the shop. And I'm like, did you call his cell phone? He goes, yeah, but he didn't answer. I'm like, oh, he must be in the car or at the store, because I had just sent him, he messaged me to let me know that he was stopping by the store to grab something, and I had him grab a couple things for dinner. And I'm like, so he must be at the store still. So when he goes in the store, he doesn't necessarily take his phone unless he's unsure of something. So I was like, I'll tell him that you need him to go back to work or whatever. Because his... Sorry about that. Loud motorcycles. It's summertime. What's the sign of summer? The loud motorcycles. But I told his boss I'd let him know that he was needed to come back to work. So once he got out of the store, I called him and was like, hey, your boss called and was like, hey, you need to come back in for a few more minutes. So yeah, so like they'll sit around all day doing nothing, and then right at the last minute, his boss will be like, I need you to do a RAM block change 4 hours away. So like, yeah, that's how his work has been going lately. He isn't enjoying it very much. But he got his first paycheck from like his 10 days off. And I'm like, you're either going to have to find a new job or something's got to give. We're going to tighten our belt loops here on like certain things, because like my YouTube money goes towards YouTube. I will pay part of the electric bill because I use electricity. I will pay half the cable bill because I use cable, or I use the internet. And then and my internet and cable stuff is all grouped together. And then I'll pay half of the cell phone bill because I use my cell phone for my thing. And technically we have a business account because of my YouTube channel, and it saves us a little bit of money. So I'm like, I will pay some of the bills with my YouTube money, but the rest of the bill, or the rest of the money, goes towards buying canvases when you guys ask me to try out new stores and stuff, or if I find a new supply that I think will be helpful for me in the diamond painting, experience. So I was like, we're gonna have to tighten our belt loops. Things are getting a little shaky here for the Tepper house. And he's like, I don't want to find another job this right now with school and everything else. I don't know how I'm going to do it. And I'm like, oh, you're going to do it. But we got to figure out something, because we can't, like, you can't have one check come in and it's real nice, and then one check come in that's real crappy. And since I'm used to paying my bills a month ahead, this will be the time where our bills are going to get scrambled up, because I have to figure out now how to pay all the bills out of one paycheck, so that second paycheck is just a lingering paycheck for extras. Because, yeah, I split the bills up. The rent gets paid in one check, and then the other bills get paid in another check to split it up. And according to what he made last month, we're a little short on bills, and I'm like, we got to figure out something. So I figured out a couple of things, and I'm like, if I need to quit YouTube and get a regular job, and he goes, no, please don't. And I'm thinking, oh, he's being so supportive, and he's like, no, you just don't do well when you have to work with people. And I'm like, well, what is that supposed to mean? When I worked at other jobs, I've had jobs call my husband to come get me because I was going off on people. So yeah, so he's like, you don't work well with others. And I refuse to go get that paper stating that the government doesn't want me to work with people, because I'm like, I am not handicapped. I can work. And he goes, yeah, but it's not good work. It's not good work. You don't do well with people. And I'm like, I can find a job where I'm not working with people. Yeah, there's not a lot of jobs in Williston that you don't work with people. So he's trying to avoid me having to go and find a regular job. So he's like, this is your job. This is your business. You worry about your business, and I'll worry about trying to figure out like bills and such. And I'm like, all right, but you say the word, I will go back to work, and we'll have all kinds of adventures. I wouldn't stop working on my YouTube channel. I would still work on my YouTube channel. Just wouldn't be as much. They might get 3 videos a week instead of 6. And he goes, no, we're just going to have you keep doing YouTube. He's like, I don't really want you in the public eye. I'm like, oh, come on now. It's not that bad, is it? And then I thought back to that one job where I was cussing out my boss, because you know how when you work at a job and you have that one boss that loves telling everybody else what to do, but they ain't doing nothing, but they micromanaging everything you do. Like, you breathe heavy, and they're like, no, don't breathe like that. That's how it was working at this one job. I'm not going to say the name of the job, but that's how it was working at this one job. And I told my boss to F off one day because he was telling me that I was doing something incorrectly. He didn't want to show me how to do it correctly, but he did want to let me know that I was doing it incorrectly. And I'm like, well, then show me how to do it. And he goes, that's not my job. That is your job. That's exactly what your job is. Your job is not to sit here and tell me what to do. Your job is to help me do the things that I'm not doing correctly so that I don't mess it up again. Well, he didn't want to tell me what to do. He just wanted to let me know that I was doing it wrong. And I'm like, well, F you and F this place. And I walked out. So I've had many jobs, but I've also lost many of those jobs. Some of the jobs I quit because I can't. I can't. I've looked at my boss once before and went, I can't. And I just walked out. I don't do good at regular jobs. I'm not a regular job type of girl. So yeah, it's one of those things. And YouTube is my job. YouTube is enough of a job for me. And I do view YouTube as a job. I try to be very professional here, or as professional as I want to be. I try to do things in a professional manner with my channel when it comes to like businesses and like dealing with companies and everything else. So this technically is my job and I enjoy it. So when you enjoy your job, you never work a day in your life. So I'm like, you know, I do enjoy doing YouTube. I don't necessarily, I deal with people, I deal with my subscribers, but there are people that want to be dealt with by me. Like there are people that want to have some kind of interaction with me, and I can deal with that. But when it's people I don't like, no, I can't. So for the rest of the week here, I have to get back to making that sweater. So as soon as I'm finished with this, I will get back to making that sweater. This is the first I've diamond painted since Friday night, which is why there's not much work done on this section that I'm working on, because this is the first time I've touched it since Friday, because I've been working on that pattern for the magazine. If you didn't know, I work with Happily Hooked magazine. I am one of their pattern testers, so that when you guys purchase that magazine, you don't get it with a bunch of errors and misprints and size variations all over the place. I'm one of the people that assures that your pattern is made correctly and that the gauges come out correctly, so that you're not getting a wonky pattern. So yeah, that's when you hear me say that I have to do a test pattern for the magazine, that's what I'm talking about. Because I know I had somebody ask me, they're like, well, what is this pattern testing that you're doing? They thought I was pattern testing for diamond painting. And I'm like, no, I work with Happily Hooked magazine, which is a crochet magazine here in the US that does crochet patterns in it. And I make sure that the patterns, I'm not doing it by myself. Like there's a whole team of us, but I'm one of the ones that helps make sure that the patterns come out okay and you're not getting like a wonky pattern in the magazine or something. So yeah, so there's that. But I do have to get back to making sure that everything is cool with that. So I am going to end this here. I would like to thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave those down in the comment section below. This is just a random ramblings whip and chat today. I don't know. I had a lot of stuff I wanted to say. I think I got it all out. I hope so. If not, well, maybe next time. But I only have that small section to do now, and I'm pretty excited. So thank you guys so much for hanging in there with me. I do greatly appreciate it, but I have to go get those kids and start playing because I can hear little Maggie getting restless over there. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new to the channel and would like to see more random crazy videos just like this, please feel free to hit that subscribe button and the bell to be notified anytime I randomly decide to put up a video. And believe me, it's random. But with that said, folks, I must now bid you adieu. But not before reminding you, like I always try to be kind, be courteous, be cool. Bye, guys.